Hey, let me open with prayer and then we'll get rolling here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for just the day, just crazy weather we're having, and just the joy of that. Hopefully was relaxing, get outside maybe even a little bit and play in the snow, and just looking forward to this evening. We just ask that you be with us tonight, and looking forward to a great day tomorrow, safe travels. And again, we turn this time over to you. We're thankful for this opportunity to connect. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, more people here. Hold on. All right, hold on. I've got a few more folks joining here. All right. My goal tonight is essentially to give you an overview. And it's not going to, there's going to be some detail, but I can't cover all the detail, as you can imagine. So I want to kind of give you an overview at the beginning, the first about 25 minutes or so. And then what I want is if you have any questions, you can certainly ask those questions. And then my teammates, my SALT students that are on here are absolutely welcome to jump in and answer those questions. I definitely don't need to be the one that answers all of those questions. Okay. So that's kind of the game plan for tonight. All right. So just a little bit about me. Some of you know who I am. Some of you I've never met. And so I'm looking forward to that. So I've been in education for about 30 years. And I have a doctorate in educational leadership. I'm a licensed principal in the state of Colorado. And those are some of the things that I like to do: cycle, run. I wish I could run more. Reading. And then married, just celebrated 30 years last year. And my wife is a school psychologist at an alternative high school in Douglas County. I've got 2 kids. Jeffrey is a senior at Calvin. He's studying chemistry, and he loves to dabble in a little bit of psychology. Actually, we just found out, again, he got admitted to today, just this afternoon, we found out he was accepted to DU's PhD chemistry program. So he's now has to choose. He's got a couple of options. Colorado State is one of them. DU's the other one. So anyway, that's kind of cool. While he was here, he was in the band and played basketball and baseball and soccer, and just kind of did the whole child thing here at Denver Christian. My daughter, same thing, did all kinds of stuff here: band, soccer, basketball, volleyball, and all that good stuff. She's a junior studying nursing, and she also plays soccer out there. And so you can kind of get a sense of who they are. That young lady on the far left of your screen is my son's girlfriend, who at some point soon, I would imagine, they will be married. And she's an aerospace engineer at University of Michigan. So anyway, that's just kind of a little bit about them. And now about my team. My team is the best. They make me proud every day. They love middle school kids, the way ups and way downs, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means. They embrace that. They know that the students are in a unique place in life, right? It's called middle for a reason, I think. But they, first and foremost, they love your kids. They want to know your students' stories, and they're really good at it. They're really good at it. They're good educators. They get the social emotional side of being on the middle school team, and they make me proud every day. They love like we see the story, live the story, they know that your child is an image bearer. And our teachers recognize, like I said before, that your kiddo's going through these way ups and way downs. And these are really formative years. And so what does that mean? And what's our role? And sometimes our role is a little bit of tough love. And sometimes we put our arm around and kind of dive in, roll up our sleeves and figure out how we can support your kid and your child. And we're small enough where you're not going to fall between the cracks. And so anyway, my team is amazing. Before we begin, I just want us to recognize, for some of you, this is your oldest. And so middle school is like this enigma, like you're not quite sure what's going on. And for some, you've had a middle school student before, and so you've kind of lived that. Or maybe it's not your first middle school student, but it's your first girl in middle school, first boy in middle school. Obviously I have a boy and a girl. Those were different experiences, right? My son is older, kind of went through, did his thing, and then it was a different experience with my daughter. But ultimately, they're kind of seeking three things. Their identity, that they wrestle a lot with, is my identity in who my peers say I am, or when I reflect what my peers are doing, or is it in Christ? That's a real challenge at this age. And then their purpose. Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? What am I doing here? Where do I kind of fit is the third one, the belonging piece. And that purpose and belonging are often tied together, but they're really struggling with that. Why am I here? Where do I fit? Do I fit in that friend group? Do I fit on that team? Do I fit here? And a lot of it, to be honest with you, you have to take risks. And so sometimes we're going to ask you to take a risk, like stretch, go try something new. Maybe you fit there and you've never tried it. I've never been in theater. I'm not going to go try out for the play. There's no way. And then we say, no, you should go try that. And we kind of nudge you. And all of a sudden you find this new passion. Or you get put in piano elective and you're like, I don't even know what a piano is. Like, I don't play piano. Music's not my thing, but I put you in there anyway because your other choices don't match. And all of a sudden you find this new passion in your life. So you risk, I kind of fit here. I might have found a new purpose. So anyway, there's that piece. So tonight it's kind of broken into the 6 spheres. So you can kind of see them there. We're going to kind of talk about those as we go through. You'll see the major headings there. And then this is the theme verse for us. This is the theme verse. So that 1 Peter, because you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession. If we can get our middle school students to believe wholeheartedly in their soul that they are God's special possession, that's a win. What an unbelievable experience that would be. And then you hear we talk a lot about belonging and a lot about being with. All right, so let's dive in here. We're really intentional about this. I think the one thing is you think, faith formation is Bible class, it's chapel, and it's devotions. And you kind of live in those that narrow view, but it's more than that. It's woven into the conversations that Mrs. Naylor or Mrs. Loving or Miss Allred has with your student. It's those meaningful conversations. And those conversations, to be honest with you, they could be 90 seconds long. And yet Christ's love is woven in. Maybe not overtly. Maybe they don't sit there and pray together. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. But what they're doing is we're showing Christ's love in that conversation. That is part of a child's faith formation. Both my kids still are in touch with two teachers that profoundly impacted them at Denver Christian. And my kids are 22 and 21, but yet they still have that connection because it was more than the academics. And then also their worldview is starting to take shape. And perhaps for the first time, they're learning what it means to own their faith. Maybe for the past several years, their faith has just been sort of, this is what I hear at home, so this is what I think, this is what I say. Well, now their hormones and their bodies and their brains are starting to do backflips. And sometimes you wonder, like, who is this? Well, that's part of the faith formation. It's the doubting and the challenging. And in Bible class, they might ask a really profound question, like they're really curious. It doesn't make sense to them anymore. It's not black and white anymore. It's gray. I don't get it. What does that have to do with me? And so, but that's really important. That's a shift that we want them to have. We want our students to doubt and challenge and question and wonder, because going through that process, that is going to be where they solidify it as their faith. Like through the doubting and the wondering, and now the confirmation from the teachers and the confirmation from church, and that affirmation that, yes, it's okay. But now all of a sudden they're like, this is like real to me now. It's like, this makes more sense to me. So the cognitive development, obviously we're a school, we need to do that well. And so we'll talk about that for quite a bit here. Basically, it's the core classes. They're your typical core classes: math, science, English, social studies, and Bible. Math is heavily differentiated in the way that we move students. So we have some sixth graders, and this is a pretty intense process to get this to happen, but we have some sixth graders that are in seventh grade math, that are in pre-algebra. We actually have some students that are in algebra 1. Some of our sixth graders, but most of our sixth graders are at grade level in Mrs. Kaming's class. But so we do a lot of moving there. But again, there's a lot of studying of data and talking to teachers and the current 5th grade teachers. So that is not just something we take lightly. Then we have the specials: Spanish, physical education, art, and then the online class that we ask all 6th graders to take is keyboarding. So we learn how to type. I know we can type, many of us can type with our thumbs, but if I said home row, many of you would know what I'm talking about and many of you would not. And then we have the electives, and we'll talk about those down the road just a little bit. What we want them to do ultimately is, right now, the family has kind of helped carry the burden a little bit of the learning. And what we want is the student to start to carry the burden, the experience between preparation and organization, and then the achievement, right? So it's more than just grades. It's more than just grades. But we want the student to own the learning. And sometimes that can get ugly, right? The grades can dip. And that's possible. As that shift occurs, it is possible that the grades are going to dip. My student has been a straight A student for years and years and years, and now all of a sudden they're getting B's. Yeah, they've got more to organize. There's a new teacher every single class period. There's a new learning management system. I now have a Chromebook that I walk around with that I have to keep track of. I've got tests, and right, I've got all these different experiences. And so it's perfectly natural for the student to experience some type of dip. Not all, but some. It's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And we've got some tools in place that we can talk about. The other thing is, many of us are perfectionists. I had 2 of those in my house. But one of the best things that my kids did is, all of a sudden they weren't getting straight A's. All of a sudden they realized, hey, I'm still alive. I'm still breathing. I still have friends. I'm still being successful in school. But and they survived that not straight A. That's okay, because that's part of the shift. That's part of the dip that I was talking about. So we want them to experience that academic independence. And each person on this Zoom and each person that walks into this middle school It's different for them than it is for their peer. So you might be talking to another parent in 6th grade and they're like, my kid studies a ton, an hour or so is what we're hoping, hour and a half, maybe. We don't want a ton of homework. Well, that's the whole child piece. We'll talk about that later. And then some students are doing really well and they're not studying as much. So maybe they use their study halls more wisely is kind of what it comes down to. Or when the teachers allow them time to work, that student gets down and grinds and works and uses that time wisely. And maybe the other student doesn't. Well, that becomes homework, right? So that's part of it. All right. So we want that perfectionist to learn that they can survive not getting straight A's. All right. It is perfectly okay not to get straight A's when you're 10 years old. All right. So along those same lines, we want the student to excel academically. Like that's what we want. We understand that dips are going to occur, but we still want them to be successful. We want them to do well, but we want them to do it for the right reasons. And the right reasons include, but are not limited to, learning. Like we want them to enjoy the learning process. It's not about, Mr. DeBoer, what do I have to do to get an A in here? Or is this graded? Or like if you get so hyper focused on a grade, we would argue that that's not the right reason. We want them to seek more learning. So when they're talking about something in earth science with Miss Allred, and they're talking about water and the amazing impact that water has and the snow, where does all this snow go? Well, it turns into water. Where does that water go? Well, it goes west, right? And so they start talking about that. The goal is to say, I want to go learn more about this whole water system and the water table. Not, Miss Allred, what do I have to do to get an A? I hope you see the difference there, okay? Plus, on the other hand, if it's all about the grade, then maybe we're missing out on opportunities to be in the arts, both performing and fine arts, right? So if you're in Mrs. Schwant's class in art, we want you to enjoy that process of developing and really pouring and putting your best effort, not, oh, I need this many colors. This is the type of art. Here's the rubric, and boom, I'm done. And you clock out in 10 minutes. We don't want that. We want you to sit down and really ponder and think about, what do I need to do to make this art piece the best that I can make it look, right? Or, yeah, it might be less time at home, but what sport can I join that maybe I've never played, right? So we want you to be that whole child, that whole experience. One of the ways that we help students sort of manage their academics is we use a tool in our learning management system. So our learning management system is Canvas. And we have Grade Guardian. Grade Guardian basically gives a 50,000-foot view of your students' grades. I don't need to go into all the details because that could be another half hour. But basically, it takes an algorithm and it takes a look at maybe some missing assignments from your student, their grades, and it assigns them a score. And we track those scores. Mrs. Slaughter tracks the score, Mrs. Cater tracks the score, I track the score, your teachers track the score. And basically it says, uh-oh, across the board, this student is really struggling. What do we need to do? And we have tools for that. We have systems for that. For example, they would hang out with us during their elective. We would maybe change up how they're using their study hall. So we would sort of react as needed. And then finally, it's used as an eligibility tool for when you're in theater and also when you're in athletics. All right. So obviously, as I've mentioned, my team is amazing. Of course, the academic program is only as good as the team. They're amazing. They love their subjects. They're so gifted at their subjects. And one of the joys of my job is I get to go up and down the halls. I get to wander in and out of classrooms and see them at work. And they're really, really good. And they're certified educators. And some of them actually have a master's degree as well. Let me go back. All right. All right. So cognitive development. So one of the things that we do the first quarter is there's a program called Bridge. And it is the first 9 weeks. So we are in quarters. I know that you're used to trimesters. We actually have 4 quarters. They're 9 weeks long. And the first one is Bridge. And the idea of Bridge is exactly what that is. It is a bridge between elementary school and middle school. We know that that bridge for some can be a really, really, really big, daunting bridge. And so what tools can we put in place that will help that student be successful? So we learn a lot about how to use our Canvas learning management system. Organizer, we hand each student a planner. We help them with communication skills, crafting emails and things like that. And we talk, Mrs. Cater's in there doing some social emotional teaching with them, helping them adjust to the social emotional side of being an adolescent and being a middle school student. And we do sex ed and health education. And that is run by our PE teacher, Mr. Jones, and Mrs. Cater. So they run that. All right. More on the cognitive development. We're a school. That's why this is a long one. Okay. Each student receives a Chromebook. This Chromebook is yours. Like, you own it. It comes out of the ed fee. So it is yours to own. And I'll show you the website that gives all the details, page and a half of detail that I don't need to go through here. But each student is going to be given a Chromebook, and the expectation is when the student arrives each day that is the school issued Chromebook, not their own personal computer, school issued Chromebook. And it arrives charged and ready to go. And then Hapara is our management system for our Chromebook. So it blocks websites, and that's on top of our internet filtering system, iBoss. Our teachers can see in real time our students' computer screens. It can see all the tabs that they have open, help them stay on task and things like that. But it is unbelievable. That program is amazing. Okay. All right. Moving on here. So climate and culture, obviously a big deal. We realize that, the environment and culture our students are in during middle school, it's going to impact them today and down the road, because I'm sure many of us, I don't, for some reason, I don't have a horror story of middle school. I love middle school. It was great. But some of us, I'm sure, reflect back on your middle school experience and you're like, oh my goodness. And then you take that memory and you transfer it onto your oldest, who is coming into 6th grade, and that's part of what maybe makes you nervous about middle school. We are hoping to kind of change that narrative, both in your mind, by having your student have a really neat, positive, challenging, supported experience. One of the joys of our jobs is we do get to walk alongside you as a family and as you navigate these years. And part of it is you're going to hear some tough things like, yeah, your student is struggling, and here's where they're struggling. They're struggling in friendships, and they're struggling, but you know what? That's okay. Let's get together in the same room and figure this out. Or your student is doing amazing. We should celebrate that. How awesome is that? This is going to be great. So we want to partner with you. But again, we have helped many, many, many families. And I mentioned I've been at this 30 years. Most of those years are with middle school students. So I've done this many, many times and have had tons of conversations with families, and they just kind of pick my brain and ask me advice and questions. And I kind of draw on my experience as a dad, and I draw on my experience as an educator, and our teachers do the same thing, depending on their experience, of course. Okay. Obviously the emotional safety, that's critical to any middle school experience. We really, really, really lean heavily on that. We work hard at that. But the students, obviously, they have a role in that too, right? We're all community members. We're all community builders. So our students have a responsibility to create this culture just as much as the staff does. Many of you know, or will start to experience, all of a sudden your child is like crying, or they're laughing out loud, and they're doing both like within 2 seconds of one another, and you can't figure out why. Yeah, welcome to middle school. Totally normal. Every kid goes through it. You went through it. I went through it. Your teachers went through it. It's kind of normal. It's your body kind of doing these backflips, your brain and your hormones, and it's quite a ride. But one of the things that we put in place here is we have a full-time counselor that totally gets it. Mrs. Cater is an absolute gift to us. She walks alongside these students so amazingly. She is in contact with if a student is seeking outside supports with a counselor, then she is in contact and can be in contact with that person to really wrap around this child in a really profound way. But we totally get the emotions and the ups and downs. And so Mrs. Cater kind of walks us through this and helps us. And she's always learning and growing and going to webinars and reading, and has really helped us a ton in that area. Okay, that is about Mrs. Cater. So the other thing is there's that reactive side that I was referring to. There's also the proactive side. So she's in the classrooms quite a bit, teaching students, signs of some mental health stuff or friendship stuff or whatever it might be, to help our students and equip them in a way that, they've got these tools in their tool belt that they can draw in on. Okay. All right. Mrs. Cater is the best. Yes. All right. Cell phones. We have these things called tech trays. Believe it or not, it actually took us a long time to land on that name. My team we just debated and we ended up with tech trays. Each classroom has a tech tray. As soon as the student walks into the building, if they have a smartphone or a smartwatch, we ask that student puts it in the tech tray immediately following their entrance into the building. So in other words, not at 8:20 when homeroom starts, but if you get here at 8 o'clock, you go straight into your homeroom, and your phone and Apple Watch or whatever go into the tech tray, and it stays there all day. We do not need those. We do not use those. And then at the end of the day in the afternoon homeroom, you can pick those up. We have one of our 7th grade electives, 7th and 8th grade electives is Thunder Media, where they make movies. That is the one exception. So they video and take pictures. Okay. Social media, you can see kind of my bias in this slide. It is not awesome. And I get pretty passionate about it. I'm pretty straightforward about it. I'm pretty blunt about it. Because I've seen what it's done over the years. And I remember when we didn't have it, and I see the difference now that we do have it in our students' world, and man, it is brutal. And so I could go on and on about that, but I'm not going to do that. So you just see it says social media, it says don't, meaning just don't do it. And then, but if you do, please monitor it closely. Please, I beg of you. But I could go on and on about that, but I'm not going to do that. All right. One of the things in the emotional world that we try and grow is their leadership skills. So some of our students and our SELF kids are on here. I think I saw Jack and Josiah. I have to scroll through because you're all on different screens. So they basically spend 6th grade kind of getting into middle school. Let's figure this out, and let's land this plane. And then coming up for our current sixth graders, they can apply to be in our SALT program, and that is run by Mrs. Cater. And they plan events. They are on events like this tonight. They host our shadow students. They learn leadership skills. They eat a lot of Chick-fil-A, by the way. They eat a lot of Chick-fil-A. And but anyway, it's such a great program. It just gives them an opportunity to take these leadership skills and really capitalize on those. All right, the creative side, and we're getting close here, gang. All right. One of the things we do with the creative side is we have these electives for sixth grade. Sixth grade does not participate in the full huge seventh and eighth grade elective. There's like 10 or 12 choices there. Theirs is a little more select, and we kind of give them a survey. So we push them through these three different ones: STEM, modern art and appreciation and art making, and then a passion project. And we'll talk about those at a later date. You'll see there's also fine arts, right? There's the art class and the electives. There's hand lettering, digital scrapbooking. So hand lettering is Mrs. Deere, and then digital scrapbooking is Mrs. Lindenmeyer. So those are seventh and eighth. So there's a whole list of electives when you hit seventh and eighth. And then same with speech and debate. So I'm just putting those down here just as something to really look forward to is those right there. Okay. All right. And then another way for the creative is the performing arts. So you have the fine arts, and now you have the performing arts, choir, general music, piano elective, although I think there's a piano lab after school program run by Miss Nacarado. Band, of course, is amazing. And then drama and theater, our sixth graders are participating in that. There's quite a few of them, actually. And then we have some different after school clubs. So again, just trying to push that creative side. All right. Social emotional, we talk a little bit about the trips. One of the things that we need to do on these trips, one of the joys of these trips, and yours is in the bottom right, Estes Park, is make good friends. We want you to make good friends. And that means maybe getting out of your comfort zone and meeting new people, right? And one of the ways that we do that is we launch into this trip at Estes Park. And so you spend the 3 days trying to learn all these new students and interacting with the new sixth graders, right? Because you're going to meet about 20 students, maybe 25 students that you've never met. And so what a neat opportunity to develop a friendship. We talk about restorative practices. It's all about learning how to restore these friendships. So in middle school, because our emotions are all over the place, our friendships can sometimes be all over the place. And so we need to figure that out. We need to sit down and talk about it. And there's consequences, right? We have all of that. We have suspensions and detentions and all of that kind of works into this as we have to repair relationships if poor decisions are made. Yes, absolutely. But it's all about the restoring of the relationship, because Christ has created us to be in relationship. And so what do we do? What do we do to restore that and bring that back to where he wants it to be? And then, of course, recess. So currently the game for sixth grade right now they would probably call it soccer. I don't call it soccer. There's a soccer ball and a goal, but it is not soccer. I would call it chaos, but they love it and it's a ton of fun. And I would say a third of the sixth graders are in on this game. So there's all kinds of games and they have to figure it out and they develop their own rules. I don't make the rules. It's not my game. So this is an awesome opportunity. They have full control, within reason, of course, of the games. And what an awesome way to help manage your emotions and try and figure that out. It's just awesome. And then physical education classes. And then we have the strength and conditioning for sports performance elective, which is going to fire up actually fourth quarter with Mr. Jones and Mr. Miller. And the athletics. So those are the sports listed there. I don't need to read all those for you. Figured you can figure that part out. Those are all the sports. Highly recommend you join a fall sport. Well, I've never played soccer. You should play soccer. I've never run cross country. You should run cross country. I've never played volleyball. You should try volleyball. Try it. Something new. It's different. You'll meet new people. Travel on a bus to games. It's super, super fun. All right. Finally, the co-curriculars. And then we're going to wrap this up. We're going to head up to the 6th grade trip, and then we're done. All right, so you can see all these different co-curriculars. Some people call them extra. I say co, meaning with, right? They're alongside your classes. They're alongside your classes. So Mrs. Naylor's speech, actually, we have our first speech meet coming up next Friday on the 27th. So excited about that. So pumped. So we're firing that back up. So that is so exciting. All right, 6th grade trip, real quick. Write these dates down. It is September 6th through 8th, 2023. So we're going to take off that Wednesday morning on the 6th, and we return that afternoon on the 8th, and we're going to head up to Estes Park and Rocky Mountain. So I cannot wait for that. Okay. I'm going to just do a brief overview here, and then I'll wrap it up. So those are the kind of things you're going to do: hiking, nature programs, play, mess around, reflection time, team building, relationship building, collaboration, all that good stuff. Simply Venture is who runs it. They also run our 8th grade trip to the Black Hills. And so if you have, if you're kind of curious about that, you can go on their site and look at it. And if you have any specific questions about the trip, you can email them. Okay. Yeah, no technology of any kind on the trip. No way. Leave it at home. You don't need it. It just gets in the way. Okay. And then finally, the communications piece is through the Monday morning message. You'll get the weekly news. You just click on middle school, you know, that Sunday thing that comes out. Regular emails from the school, from me, from the athletic director. There's obviously social media as well. All right. And that is a wrap. Okay. There's my contact information. If you would like to meet with me, you are more than welcome to do that. Just send me an email. I will probably send you a link that allows you to set up an appointment with me, and we'll find time to chat and get some coffee and all that good stuff. All right. Any questions for me or the team? Yeah. Ask the team questions that you've heard me plenty. Any questions?
I have a question. What's a typical day look like for a middle schooler? I'm sure it's quite different from when I went, you know, how many years ago, but like what can we expect from their day to day?
That's a good question. Eiley or Josiah, Jack, you want to answer that, or teachers?
Yeah, I can answer.
Okay.
It's pretty easy. You got pretty much the same schedule every day. I don't really remember the 6th grade one that well, but it's pretty simple. You just got 7 periods, and yeah, you just go through them. Got like a 2-minute passing period, and there's not many textbooks because you got your computer, so you don't really got to worry about that.
Cool. Anyone want to add to that? Yeah, I mean, Jack's exactly right. It's a pretty straightforward schedule. The one thing that changes is either your special changes depending on the day. So you would have 2 specials in the first semester, 2 specials second semester. So you might have art and PE first semester, and then your keyboarding and what was the other? Oh, Spanish, the second semester, right? So that would change. And then Your elective is kind of on off days from Bible. So there's a little bit of a change up, but yeah, Jack's right. It's 7 periods. It's each day. It just, your specific student schedule changes just a little bit.
And also, you get like a 10-minute break for like snack and all that.
Oh yeah, good point. Thank you, Josiah. That's every day. Good call.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer.
You bet. Anybody else? Questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was just curious about the sex education piece. Do we have an opportunity to look at the curriculum and kind of hear more about that and before they do it?
I can answer that question. I'm Miss Cater. I help teach sex education with Sam Jones. And I will also say we call it health education with a little bit on the sex education part. We use focus on the family for our curriculum. It's really whole child. It goes over social emotional changes as well as like puberty and physical changes. Also talks about changes in your relationship and stuff like that. So you could Google focus on the family. It's called Launching into the Teen Years is what we use.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Questions?
And I do have one more. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Jess.
I was just thinking about the cell phones. I loved everything you said about social media, all that. So my oldest is the one going into middle school. I'm just curious about navigating just the cell phone situation. Do you find that there are many sixth graders without one? What does that look like? When are you seeing kids normally get one? Yeah, just kind of feel a little bit in the dark on that one. So
I don't know the percentage or volume of current sixth graders, Gabby or Matt or Nicole. Anybody want to? I don't know how many of our sixth graders have them.
I can answer from my homeroom.
Okay.
There are not a lot of phones in my tech tray. There's only a few. So I would say the majority do not have them.
A lot of kids in 7th grade have them though. Well, at least in my class. Actually, yeah, except in a few homerooms, they don't have many. I have an Apple Watch, so I don't really know what it's like to have a phone. So that's my.
Yeah, I think it kind of just varies across the board. My homeroom, there are tech trays like 2/3 full with either Apple Watches or phones. So it just kind of depends, but it seems like definitely something that seems to be more of a buzz than it has been in previous years, but there's also plenty of kids that don't have it. So not in small company there.
thank you guys. And thank you for the way you handle it. I loved hearing everything you had to say on that. So that's great.
Yeah, you bet. It's not an easy road to navigate at all for any of us.
Yeah.
And just a quick side, part of the challenge is things kind of occur outside the school hours.
Yeah.
And then they roll into our building, and then we kind of have to manage back to that social emotional piece and the friendships piece that might have blown up over text Saturday afternoon at 2:00. And now it kind of walks into our building Monday morning. And so that's part of our challenge for sure.
Yeah.
We have some families that say they're not going to give their child a phone until 9th grade. And then we have students that I know in elementary are young and have cell phones, right? So it's almost family to family to family. So
Yeah.
I say wait as long as possible.
Yes.
That is
I'm done with that. Thanks.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about the trip?
Yeah, of course.
So is that something that is, I don't know if chaperone is the right question. Is it just the staff and the kids, or are you expecting to have parents come with you? I'm thinking forward and whether or not there's going to be a need there, whether or not I need to set aside time if that's needed or whatever.
Matt, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, we have all the 6th grade teachers come along and chaperone. And then last year we had think it was 6 seniors as well that the high school principal, Dr. Kortenhoven, selected to come along with us as well. So I'm thinking that that was a big hit for the kids, had a great time getting to know the seniors. And I think that's something we'll try to do again, just for extra sets of eyes and for those to develop those relationships too.
Yeah, I heard a lot about they were just amazing mentors.
And also oh, sorry to interrupt, Tyler. The Simply
You're good.
Venture staff also has 3 or 4 people that they supply to.
Right on. Yeah. The only reason I asked, I did something similar and when I was in 6th grade and there was no parents, they just kind of drove us to Estes Park and dumped us off and came back 3 days later. So that's I actually really appreciate that I'm not going with her. It's a good thing for her to be on her own. So,
Amen.
but that's just
yeah, you won't get any argument for that here.
good.
All right. Any other questions? Team, did I miss anything? Salt, did I miss anything?
Hey, I actually have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I know you said you look at a few different things as far as letting them play sports or do theater, but
Yep.
is there a GPA that they do need to maintain in order to play or participate?
Yeah, you need, I think, above a C.
Yeah.
C or above, or above
Yeah.
C?
So, yeah, Jack's right, but let me add to it, Jack. Okay, that's a good start. Thanks, buddy. So that's where the grade guardian piece comes into play. So it generates a score. So Jack is right. Your grade guardian score will be really, really low if you don't have C's or above. But there's also a behavior piece to it, and there's an effort piece to it. So it's more than just grades. So if there's behavior issues or behavior challenges or effort in the classroom challenges, and then also, yeah, if the grade guardian score is not amazing, then they're ineligible to play. Yep.
All right, good to know. And is that for just like the next game or?
Yeah. So in high school, yep. So in high school, it's week to week. So actually in high school, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, it's like you're ineligible for the whole week. Is that right, Sam? Yeah. And then with middle school, you're ineligible for the next contest. It's just one contest.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep.
I've got one more question about the experiential trip to Estes.
Yeah.
I think I noticed on your slides that you indicated it might be a good idea to fundraise. If that's the case, when do students hear about and get excited for that trip so they're motivated to take ownership of the financial implications?
That's a great question. So this spring, I'll do back to back Zooms for each trip. So it's a whole half hour just set aside for this trip. And I do it for our current 5th graders going into 6th, and then our current 7th, or current 6th going into 7th, 7th going into 8th. So just getting them excited for the next trip. And we get way more into the weeds of the trip and things like that. So it's another Zoom for that trip. So that'll happen this spring.
Great. Thanks.
You bet. Anything else? Okay. I'll call that a wrap then. Okay. So, teachers, did I miss anything? Are we good? Okay. Again, if you want to connect with me and you have more conversations that maybe are really, really specific to you and your child heading into middle school, and I am more than more than willing to sit down and chat with you about that. No problem. Just excuse me. Just send me an email and we'll schedule a time, and y'all can just come in, have a cup of coffee, and we can just chat. And if it can be about anything, any of the 6 spheres, no problem. We can, or all 6. So that would be just fine. Okay. Does anybody want to close us in prayer?
I can.
All right.
God, I just thank you for who you are and how you love us. We just thank you for Denver Christian. I thank you for the staff and the teachers that just love our kids so well. And we just ask that we would honor you with all that we do. We just ask that you would protect our kids, that they would find their identity in you, that they would build strong friendships and community, God, and that they would just be a light in their school and a light to their world. And I just ask that you would give us wisdom as parents to lead and guide them and equip them to go out. And I just thank you again for this staff, God. I just pray that you would bless them and their endeavors and all they do as teachers and staff. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, y'all. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. No snow day tomorrow. See you tomorrow.